I am going to introduce what badges are because there's going to be some people here who are like badge ninjas and some people who are badge novices. So I want to give a quick overview. This is what I do. I talk about badges and I go places and tell people what they are. If you want to have a chat with me afterwards, feel free to do that. Any of the speakers later on are going to be in different parts of the room for the latter part of this event. So if you want to seek them out and talk to them about specific things, I will be at a certain point of the room and I'll tell you about that later. So my name is Dr. Doug Belshaw. I'm Badges and Skills Lead for the Mozilla Foundation. And we don't just do Firefox. Yes, we adorn our office with Firefox logos everywhere, but we don't just do Firefox. The reason Mozilla exists isn't just to build browsers. We do more than that. We do other things like this as well. We build phones like the Firefox OS device, which is the entire web in your pocket. Sounds like a bit of a sales pitch. Cliff's laughing at me. But we do open stuff. The whole point of Mozilla is to keep the web open and free and non-commoditized. We have a login, so you're not tracked across the web when you log into stuff. We have an email client. We have, if you look at the logo at the back, we have WebMaker, which is not about just people elegantly consuming the web, but feeling like they've got agency and they can create stuff as well. I remember how much of a huge thing that was for me as a 16-year-old, being able to create my first Monty Python fan site. You know, being able to do that is a huge deal for young people. So into that, we are putting open badges. And open badges, as Jim mentioned, is a new way to accredit learning wherever and however it happens, in a way that is web native, in a way in which you can see and form part of your identity through accreditation on the web. If you want to find out more about that, if you go to openbadges.org, and it's on Twitter, Jade helps with that, at openbadges. So who's using open badges? Who's getting involved with that? Jade's moved, sorry. Well, these are some of the organizations who are already in the ecosystem. A lot of these will notice will be American, hence the need for a Badge the UK program. So people like NASA, you know, you might have heard of them, Disney. The reason Digital Me's on there is because they were the only UK winners of the initial kind of seed funding for this ecosystem. They did a fantastic pitch, and in fact, it was one of the best projects in my opinion, although I am slightly biased. Supporter to reporter, taking young people who are interested in sports and moving them into having skills around sports journalism. So there's lots of people who you might recognize on there, and I want to go through just a few examples of that. As of this morning, on the train on the way down, I looked at the dashboard and there's been 102.2 thousand badges issued so far to over 31,000 earners, and there's over 800 issuers. When I say that one of those issuers is someone like Disney or NASA or a university, that's kind of a big deal already, and we only launched version 1.0 in March. So some examples. Well, firstly, there's an organization which is a bit like LinkedIn called workforce.io, getting people into their first job, getting them on that ladder of employment. Now, they accept badges on their profile along with your academic skills. Another one would be my favorite example, which is the Sweetwater Foundation. This is all about aquaponics, so taking fish and plants and food and reinvigorating places like in Detroit, where they had a manufacturing base, and now they've got vast swathes of factories which are just abandoned. And what is fantastic about badges in this example is not only are they getting badges for their skills in terms of their knowledge and being able to do stuff, but getting for their entrepreneurial skills as well, being able to start a business based on new knowledge and new skills. And aquaponics and hydroponics is a fairly new area, so this isn't the kind of stuff you can necessarily go and do at a formal educational institution. NASA are using them for their Starlight and Mars rover programs, so you can go and find badges for that. Purdue University is a really interesting example. They built a whole learning management system with badges at the core. So if you're a professor and you want to have a new course, you can think about how you're going to issue badges in that course. And then the other end of that value chain, if you're somebody who's been on that course and you go to a job interview and they've never heard of badges, they've got an iPad app where you can show all the different things you've done, the evidence in there, and that kind of stuff. So it's a really nice example of using badges in a particular context. The most recent thing we've done, over and above building the Open Badges infrastructure, is working with the city of Chicago. So the city of Chicago, like any city, like London, like Newcastle, where I live near, they have lots of awesome summer events where you can go to a museum, an art gallery, a non-profit organization, whatever it is, and do some kind of one-off activity during the summer at that organization. And that seems great, but like it's missing a trick. So what we've done this summer is join together over 100 different organizations and having a system based on badges where if you do this, this, and this, it levels you up to this meta level badge. So there's 3 levels here, and these badges are based on STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and maths, but also art, so it's STEAM. And these badges mean that you can level up to the 3rd level, being a citywide showcase at the end of the summer, showing the city of Chicago what you've learned during that summer break. And that seems like, instead of it just being things in silos, something which is joined up together and shows the value of that learning throughout the summer. So that's all very well and good, but if you don't know what open badges are, that doesn't do you very much good. So what is an open badge? Well, essentially it is a metadata encoded credential. So in the same way that you would get ingredients out and then bake a cake, but then when you bake the cake you can't then just get the sugar out of it or the flour out of it, in the same way badges have metadata hard-coded into them. So if you've been to a wedding at the weekend and someone's taken a picture of you and then it's been tagged on Facebook, then that's metadata. It's data about data. Or a book. So a physical book with an index at the back that's the data about the data in the book. Metadata is just data about data. If you tag something on Flickr, like anything like that is just metadata. So all of that stuff, like who issued the badge, who it was issued to, any evidence, the criteria, is baked into that badge, and that badge is unique to that individual earner. So if I tried to, I don't know, steal Tim's badge, it just wouldn't work. It wouldn't work in my badge backpack. This is what a badge is essentially like. It's the visual image, but when you click on it, behind it, like baked inside of it, is the name of the badge, the description, the criteria is extremely important. Who issued it? Is there any evidence? Does it align with any standards? Does it expire? All of those things are in the badge itself, and you can display these anywhere on the web. So what's the problem? I mean, Jim kind of alluded to this earlier, but what's the problem that badges are trying to solve? It's all very well and good having some kind of new infrastructure, but if it's not solving like an extant problem, there's no point in it. So what's the problem here? Well, to my mind, it's this kind of problem for young people, and I think we all recognize this. You do some high-stakes testing. You do something like GCSEs, which lead to like an e-baccalaureate or A-levels or whatever it is. You've got that. You've also got some kind of after-school certificate. You've done something outside of school. And you might have some kind of online learning, a MOOC or otherwise. You've got all of these different things. And they don't talk to each other. They all exist in silos, and you can't show them in a coherent, holistic way. And more than that, there's other things which are really important, which we value in organizations and just in life, which fall between the cracks. So, can you meet deadlines? Can you work well in a team? Yeah, all of these things, which are soft skills, which we really value, don't feature anywhere on there. So the holistic picture of the learner is lost. So how do open badges provide some kind of solution to that? Well, these open badges are visual representations of not just knowledge and skills, but interests and competencies and behaviors. You can capture pretty much anything with a badge, and you can do it in a really rigorous way. So they can take everything that happens in schools and universities and organizations in a formal sense, and you can mash it together in an informal sense. And you can display these things together to round out that holistic picture of the learner. So it works something like this. Somebody or several organizations issue you a badge. Now, as an earner, you can decide whether to accept or reject that badge. So if Amy at the back issues me can't stand up and talk in front of people for toffee badge, then I'm going to reject that one, Amy. I'm not going to accept that one, okay? I can choose to reject that badge or accept it. If I accept it, it goes into my Open Badges backpack. When it goes to my Open Badges backpack, it's private to me. Nobody else can see it, and it's when I log in, I can see what's in my badge backpack. If I choose to put that into a collection and display it, I can then embed it anywhere on the web. So in the same way that you would upload a YouTube video and then you can embed it in any site around the web, in the same way you can do that with Open Badges. You can take your Open Badges from your Open Badge backpack and you can display them anywhere on the web. You can put your photography badges on Facebook, you can put your CPD badges on your learning management system. Anywhere on the web that takes HTML, you can embed your badges. And the idea is that leads to, which Tim's going to talk to, about job opportunities and new possibilities and lifelong learning. So just to kind of finish off this piece, Mozilla's interest in this as a non-profit is to be able to make learning like the web, like make it so that you can display what you know and what you can do on the web. And we're looking after that middle piece. We're looking after the plumbing. We're making sure everything works reliably and securely and in a trustworthy way. All of this is open source software. You can contribute not just by issuing badges, but you can contribute code as well. So the thing which I think is extremely useful, and the thing which I didn't mention, is my background is entirely formal education. I used to be a history teacher. I then was director of e-learning. I used to work in universities before I joined Mozilla. I know how important this is for young people and how much this would be of huge value to young people's lives. It helps you capture learning wherever and however it happens. Instead of just hand-waving towards lifelong learning and, oh yes, peer assessment, isn't that nice? We can actually value it and credential it in a meaningful way now, which if I was back in the classroom, I'd be jumping all over. Some people do push back and say, you know, haven't we sorted this already? Haven't we got like degrees and diplomas and certificates and stuff? Well, yeah, we have, but we're not trying to replace all of those things. We're trying to augment those things. We're trying to fill in the gaps, and we're trying to make those things web native. It's not simply either or, it's and, it's both. So to my mind, this is what the Open Badges infrastructure looks like to me. Instead of things sitting in separate silos, this is a joined up system. This is you being able to represent yourself holistically on the web, with you being in control of how you want to be represented to other people in particular contexts. So if you want to find out more about badges, by all means talk to people today, but when you go away and you talk to other people about it, point them towards openbadges.org. Thank you very much.